Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to dive into how a single, seemingly mundane historical document can hold just a massive amount of fascinating administrative and economic data. We are so used to thinking of history as these grand battles and monumental treaties, but the truth is, the actual day-to-day reality of the past is usually recorded in the paperwork. So today, we're going to dissect the anatomy of an artifact, literally peeling back the layers of a 19th century bureaucratic memo. And that brings us to the central mystery of our time together today. What historical secrets can a single 130-year-old administrative receipt actually reveal? Well, we're basically going to act as historical detectives to answer this exact question, and we'll do it by carefully decoding one piece of paper from top to bottom. Now, I know it might just look like an old scrap of paper at first glance, but as we break down its structure, you're going to see how it acts as this perfect time capsule, preserving the super strict economic and hierarchical systems of its era. Okay, let's dive right into the artifact itself. What we have here is a direct window into a colonial-era supply chain, preserving these incredibly rigid administrative instructions in fading 19th century cursive. Just look at the general aesthetic for a second. We've got this mix of formal typescript at the top, that elegant but clearly rushed handwriting, the bold strikes of ink. It's a real physical object that was handled, stamped, and filed over a century ago. But we aren't just going to sit here and look at the pretty handwriting. We're going to read it, translate it, and understand exactly how this specific document functioned as a vital gear in a massive bureaucratic machine. Section 1. The Historical Artifact. Establishing Time and Place. Notice the filing information logged right in the center of the page. You can clearly see the printed text, dated Lucknow, followed by the handwritten insertion of the date, 14/5/95, May 14, 1895. So we are placed firmly at the very end of the 19th century. But look just to the right of that date. See that number 4719 scrawled in that bold, striking red ink? That is definitely not just a random scribble. That tracking number proves this wasn't some isolated letter. It was literally the 4,719th piece of correspondence of its kind logged by this specific office. That red ink really demands your attention, signaling that this document is officially in the system, cataloged and trackable. It shows us a highly organized administrative state in full swing. Moving on to Section 2, the chain of command, decoding the bureaucracy. This right here brilliantly illustrates the flow of institutional authority. It's contrasting the powerful printed sender on the left with the highly specific, handwritten regional recipients on the right. Notice how the sender, the Inspector General of Prisons, Northwestern Provinces and Oud, is permanently typeset into the paper. That implies absolute unmoving authority. The office is permanent. But then look at the to section. It's handwritten, all superintendents of jails. The sender is singular and printed, the receivers are plural and actively written in. The Inspector General sits at the very top of the pyramid, broadcasting orders downwards to the various local jail superintendents spread all across the provinces. The visual hierarchy right there on the page perfectly matches the actual power hierarchy of the prison system. Section 3. The Economic Directive. Translating the transaction. So what is the crucial point here? What exactly is the Inspector General demanding these jail superintendents actually do? What's the business being conducted on this particular May afternoon in 1895? Well, to answer that, we have to tackle the visual challenge of the cursive script in the bottom half of the page. The neatness of the top letterhead just gives way to this rapid, sloping cursive that fills up the space under the subject line. It's our job to turn this scribbled ink into hard economic data. It requires a little bit of patience, for sure, but as we isolate the words, a very strict set of instructions begins to emerge from all those loops and dashes. When we transcribe it word for word, the text reveals a highly specific, centralized procurement order. It reads, Inspector General directs that mule yarn No. 10 should be purchased from Muir Mills, Kanpur. Now think about what this actually means for the local jail superintendent receiving this memo. They aren't allowed to source their own materials. They literally cannot shop around for a better deal locally. They are mandated from the absolute top down to buy a highly specific industrial product, mule yarn No. 10, directly from a singular approved vendor, Muir Mills, located in Kanpur. This is a textbook example of a centralized supply chain operating with total authority. But the control doesn't stop at just naming the supplier and the product. Let's look at the next crucial piece of data we pulled from the cursive. The price is dictated as well, at the rate of RS3/. This perfectly captures the rigid economic control of the era.
The purchase price is strictly locked in at exactly 3 rupees. The local superintendents, they aren't negotiating. The central office has already set the terms of the contract with Mir Mills. It is a completely fixed, non-negotiable economic transaction, dictated entirely by the state.
And furthermore, that precise 3 rupee rate is mandated for a very specific volume. The text concludes the order portion by stating the price is per bundle of 10 pounds. So we have a fixed supplier, a fixed product grade, a fixed price, and finally a perfectly standardized bundle weight of exactly 10 pounds. This is the very essence of bureaucracy right here, removing all variables to create a completely uniform, predictable system across an entire province. Every single jail under the Inspector General's command is now operating on the exact same metric with the exact same budget constraints, using the exact same materials. The directive then officially wraps up at the very bottom, signed off by order of a head assistant, cementing the administrative finality of the transaction. Notice something interesting, though. The all-powerful Inspector General didn't actually sign this piece of paper himself. He delegated the physical execution of the order to a head assistant, whose initials are just quickly dashed off beneath the words, by order. It perfectly encapsulates how a massive system operates. The top sets the policy, and the administrators, the head assistants of the world, push the paperwork that makes the policy a physical reality. Seeing how much history is packed into one single scrap of paper leaves us with a pretty fascinating final thought about the enduring yet easily overlooked nature of bureaucratic record-keeping today. I mean, we just extracted an entire supply chain structure, a power hierarchy, and rigid economic pricing from a single 130-year-old receipt. It really begs the question, over a century from now, which of our daily mundane emails, digital receipts, or seemingly boring Slack messages are going to be carefully decoded by future historians to reveal the true story of our economic history? The mundane paperwork of today is literally the invaluable artifact of tomorrow. Thank you so much for exploring this remarkable document with me, and hey, keep your eyes open for the history hiding in your own everyday paperwork.